So again, dive in with your Earthshaker, throw down the frontal cone with hammer shot, spin your hammer, and you can smack a couple people if you want, switch off to your next weapon, and start causing havoc. And you stay in there until you feel like it's time to go. Next weapon set I want to strike is Sword and Warhorn. The Sword and the Warhorn are probably one of my favorite weapon sets in the entire out of any class. The utility this brings is absolutely amazing. If you have a Warhorn on you, I highly recommend you go to the Master tier of Tactics, pick up Quick Breathe. That is 9, I believe. Now what Quick Breathing is going to do, it's going to lower the cooldown of your toots. And it's also going to convert a condition every single time you use it for nearby allies. And this is not only invaluable because, well, warriors have a very hard time handling condition, but it'll also help get rid of crippled, immobilize, and shit more often, because it'll reduce the cooldown in your charge. And it will also help you dodge more, because your call to arms will have a shorter cooldown. Now, I run 30 in Tactics oftentimes, so that pretty much means that with the synergy of the boon duration increase from Tactics and the cooldown on call to arms, that I can almost keep up endurance permanently, which means that I can dodge at twice the rate of anybody else, since your vigor doubles the endurance recharge rate. Also, call to arms cause weakness, which I don't know if everybody realizes this, but weakness is probably one of the best defensive abilities you can have, because it makes it so your enemy will deal 50% less damage every other hit.
DFND,
so it's basically a 25% damage reduction on everybody it hit. Now, the reason why I recommend using a sword for the offset with Warhorn is not because a sword actually does that much damage. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good either compared to other things. But if you are in the thick of a gigantic Zerg and you need to get out of there, a sword and a Warhorn will almost guarantee you get out. Unless you are literally being single targeted by everybody, then you're just fucked. But if you point your character away from the Zerg, make sure you have nobody targeted. You hit the 4 on your Warhorn, immediately hit your 2. You're gonna get rid of any CC, and you are gonna jump out of there to safety, or at least halfway to safety. From you can hit your call to arms to remove another condition, and start dodging your way until you get back to friendly territory.
Okay,
this... I'm sorry, what was that?
I've got a question.
Go for it.
So, with the trait trees that you're trading into for your sword, Warhorn, what would be a good weapon swap?
Hammer.
Well, a nice thing about Sword Warhorn is that it tends to synergize well with just about anything. Really, you can make just about any build work with any weapon. I wasn't planning on going too much into builds tonight, but like
honestly,
for my... Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was gonna say we should have a separate session for theory crafting and going over like concrete builds that we feel are really useful in Will Be World, and kind of outlining the major points of that build, and then leaving it up to everybody else to offer critiques alternatives, different stuff like that. I think that'd be really useful for everybody, especially those that, you know, haven't invested in exotic gear set and are looking to settle on something that fits them, their playstyle most.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to go over the weapon sets tonight and tell people what they can and can't do before I tell them how to build their character.
Joined the server.
The reason I brought it up is he said that trading into the tactics tree would be good for the Warhorn, and I was wondering if there was a weapon swap that was also good in the tactics tree.
No, tactics, I believe the only other weapon trade in tactics, I think there might be a shield one in there.
Okay,
Oh, no, it's longbow, but longbow tactics, or longbow trades are not spectacular.
Joined your channel. Deany and the Kongs on the server.
Still gives you health in this good duration, so helps basically every build.
Pretty much, yeah.
We're going through the different weapon sets of the warrior right now.
Anyway, moving on, a little more about the sword. A very nice thing about the sword is that your burst ability will apply a large stack of bleeds no matter what your adrenaline. I mean, the bleed stack will get slightly larger if it's full, but more to the point, you can hit your burst ability on the sword at 1 strike of adrenaline, and it will be just about as effective as holding on to it until it's completely full.
Depending on what your plan is to use for it. For World vs. World, you're going to want all 3 stacks because you're going to give 4 seconds of immobilize to the target.
Yeah, if you need the immobilize for the, if you're saving it for the immobilize, then you are more likely to want to hold on to it for the folder. If you are just looking for straight up DP, you can pop it on the first set and be pretty golden. Alright.
Popping that Guardian's energy in there.
The next set I'm going to go over is Axe in the main hand and Mace on the offhand.
For great justice.
Now, the Axe and Mace statistically has the highest potential for DPS output, even greater than the Greats, but that is straight up stats. That is not, you know, all situations. Now, I find that this set is very helpful if you want to be doing any sort of 1v1 or smaller group play. Now the Axe just has straight up really, really good damage output. It has a range cripple ability, which is also a projectile finish, and it has Cyclone Axe, which not only causes vulnerability, but it's also AoE and a whirl. The 4 on the Mace also causes 4 stacks of vulnerability, and it has a very high damage output. So, basically, you run in, you hit your 4 crushing blow, you hit your Cyclone Axe, and then you start. Or if you have a full adrenaline meter, you hit that Eviscerate, which is one of the biggest burst abilities. You're gonna do some very respectable damage output, especially if you're crit. And finally, the 5 on the is a knockdown projectile. It also pierces. And the range is 1200, which is the range of a longbow. Now, if you're not worried too much about survivability, this weapon set can be great for Zerg busting or group play. because not only do you have the range ability, or the AoE, of the Cyclone Axe, but you also have the Frontal Cone knockdown. The only problem with the Frontal Cone knockdown is that it's kind of easy to read, but the projectile itself is kind of hard to see, especially in Eternal Battlegrounds, where all the ground is, you know, brown or green. So I think it's definitely worth. And when it comes to Eviscerate, and what I'm about to tell you applies to warriors in general, you want to hold on to that until you know that they are not going to dodge it. Especially in a 1v1 scenario, you want to make sure that your target, you want to watch their cooldowns and you want to watch their dodge. A lot of people I run into in World v World when we're on a one-on-one and this is kind of silly, is that they will dodge twice in a row for some reason. If you see somebody dodge twice in a row, it's like Christmas. Because that means they have to wait about 10 seconds before they can dodge again. So if you see somebody dodge twice, you want to try and close that gap on them as quick as possible, and you want to dig right into them, because you know that they are not going to be dodging your Eviscerate, they are not going to be dodging your Tremor, they are not going to be dodging your 100 Blade. Same thing goes for Aegis. Though a lot of classes do not have Aegis on command, Guardians are kind of the only exception of people that can really get Aegis up that often. If you see somebody throw up Aegis, just smack them with your auto attack once, and that'll take care of it. If you ever see your burst ability get blocked, then you are probably going to cry. It is a very upsetting sight to see.
For great justice.